Hello and welcome everyone. We're doing another Trino contributor call, 27th of August 2025. A few of us are hanging out already, and we'll roll right into the topics of whatever anyone wants to talk about. I'm sure we have a few. Uma suggested a few. I have a few things we need to talk about. So, um, who wants to go first?
I can go first.
All right, go.
So, first of all, I was wondering if there's an ETA for the next Trino release.
All right, so
That's a pretty hard question because the issue is that with the new Sonatype central release process, there is a limit on the size of the publication, which is 1 GB. At least officially, unofficially, it's 2 GB. But the size of the total size of the artifacts that we are releasing to this day was 10 GB or so. So we need to rethink how we publish new release going forward. So it will take some time, but we are in the midst of doing that.
yeah, just to be also completely transparent, Mateusz did develop a great plan. We discussed this already amongst the maintainers, and I think we have a path forward at this stage where the binaries will go to the GitHub releases URL. So, when you go to GitHub and look at tags and releases, there's the tags and there's download files there. And Martin started to sort of work towards implementing that. Yuya is also helping with the release notes now because I no longer have time for that. But we reviewed those. They keep growing because people keep merging, and there's a lot of changes that need to be happening in the release notes as well. So that's taking time. We also have download links that are in the documentation, like the tarball, the JDBC driver, the various plugins. We think we have a PR that will work, and I think Martin already did a test release to GitHub that confirms that. That PR needs to be merged. I have a PR that does the similar thing on the website for the downloads on the website links as well. Those are also ready. But I think at this stage, it sits with Martin and Mateusz working on the release from all I know. Do you have any more news there, Mateusz? Like in terms of the upload to GitHub or whatever?
Recently, I was solving an issue with the Javadoc plugin, and that was invoking Javadoc incorrectly from the JDK 23. JavaFox decided to bundle the fonts together with the generated pages, which increases an artifact size. So recently I bumped a plugin. It's not yet matched, but it will be matched soon. So it should also decrease the size of the release.
Yes. So unfortunately, we're a bit stuck on that. We're working on it, but it's going to take a while. Unfortunately, we also don't have the resources to really work hard on it. There's other work that's pending. Since we're talking about releases, also wanted to mention the Trino Gateway release is stuck in a similar thing. I'm still waiting for release notes PR review and also the release automation that we introduced for Airlift. The same process is in PR in for Trino Gateway. Hopefully someone could review that, and then Martin can run the release, but so far my requests to do that have been unanswered, so we're stuck on that a little bit as well. It's a bit more complicated than Airlift because whoever runs the release then also needs to run the release for the dog container. But that's where we're at on all those releases. So unfortunately, not any better good news. That's where we're at. And of course, if anyone has requests in terms of or has merged or gotten their PR merged, please do help in the release notes PR at least, so we get the wording there correct or whatever, and can help Yuya on that work. Cool. Omar, you had some other questions from what I remember.
Yeah, and thank you for your answer. I was wondering if anyone is working on adding support for Iceberg version 3 protocol.
I have no idea. I'll have to defer for that. Lukas, Mateusz, Dane, any idea? Praveen?
I think that UI is the best person to answer that, but he's not here, so.
Okay. So it seems like nothing active out in the open at this stage, at least, Uma. Ultimately, however, I strongly believe that it will happen somehow, somewhere, because like we are pretty well adopted in the Iceberg world, so someone will feel the pain and want to upgrade and hopefully contribute that back. So let's see.
Okay, and last question. Is there any progress on the Trino history server web UI from Bloomberg or Peter, if he's here?
Peter has just recently sent a PR. Well, Mateusz, what was the one that got merged? It was the one that like visualizes the stages of the query processing, and there is another one already for the preview UI, right?
Yeah, there's one more pull request that is open.
So that's Peter's work. He's not directly involved in the history server efforts at this stage. It was mostly Roy, I think, who wanted to also then work with Eric and Eric. So Bloomberg and LinkedIn potentially, from what I understand. There is an issue where the discussion was had, and I think Eric, did you, one of you guys or both of you, even have a meeting with Roy around this in more detail? Is there anything you want to sort of like let us know? I think it's still in discussion eventually, essentially, right?
Yeah, we're internally discussing how to collect the errors, right? We already have them through the event, the HTTP event listener, right? That sends the data out. But internally, we use OpenTelemetry too to collect data, and we know that that data is very large, so we may want to pre-filter it in OpenTelemetry collector because not all information we want to send to our customers, right? So we may trim some of it. We don't know. The intention is to yank out just the the information to view the errors as well as the query plan. But I don't know that we're going to have a standalone UI yet. All that work's supposed to start here in like 2 weeks, so we work in different increments.
Yeah, and in terms of other things we discussed with Roy and company, I think there were two main kind of aspects that Roy and his folks were going to follow up on. One is adjustments to like the UI to support kind of configurable different types of payloads as inputs, accommodating like the differences in the what the live UI endpoints support versus what is available in the historical events. So they were going to do more investigation to understand, what the feasibility is of selectively disabling certain parts of the UI, or if we do need to make some enhancements to the query events, et cetera. So I think they were going to follow up more on, understanding exactly the differences and what's missing and is there anything critical, et cetera. And then the second aspect was we needed to do more alignment with Peter on the preview UI and is it getting close enough for us to be using that, etc. So last we spoke, I think Piotr wasn't available. So sounds like he's active now. So I'm not sure if Roy has followed up with him, but that needed a little bit of alignment as well.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, Omar, I think this is like a long-term plan. So if you're expecting this to arrive anytime soon to be used, that's not going to happen, I think.
Yeah, if I was to guess, a year, maybe.
Yeah, I know. What? Sorry?
If I was to guess, it'd be a year. That's generally what this kind of stuff takes. It's not simple.
Yeah. No, I was just curious about if there was any progress. But yeah, we'll keep working on it. Thank you very much.
Cool. I have another topic from Eric Anderson, and I think we should talk about it. So Eric has been very active and very proactive, I want to say, and managed to get a donation from Riley from, I don't know, in the shape of a ODBC driver, so a Trino ODBC driver that has a limited functionality set, but like it works in what Power BI, I think, and Excel, right? Like Eric. And
Power BI, Excel, Power Query, PowerShell so far is what I've tested it in. It's a long way to go, but it is functional.
so there's some interest on collaborating on that. We have a Trino sub project now. We have a Trino like sort of sub project maintainer consisting of Riley only for now, and I think Eric and Martin and others are sort of figuring out who is going to be helping on that, and we'll drive that slowly forward as well. No idea
Slowly,
about...
my time period is short, so
All
it's
right.
going to be
Well,
quicker
you
than you
drive it as
think.
hard. You will drive it as hard as we'll drive it as hard and fast as we can. At the same time, that like we don't know what that means, right? Like in terms of like overall feature set and whatever. Do you have any more details to share there, Eric, in terms of like who will potentially work on this, or what any time plans? Did you want to organize some sort of regular meetings or something, like syncing up with the people that are working on it, or any other ideas? Or is it
I'm going to keep it in Slack for now. I mean, some design meetings maybe on my questions, but
okay, cool.
and a few decisions, but I'm the one working on it right now. And I'm going to try and get somebody additional to work on the spooling part of it, because I don't want to be downloading row by row. I want to download the Parquet files. It'll be immensely quicker. And once we have that, I want to also, as I said, put DuckDB-like features in it that can answer future queries locally. Because you know what happens when you put an ODBC driver into these BI tools. They just waterboard and torture the hell out of your server with recursive metadata lookups and stuff that you don't need to be doing that, right? And it also protects your server too if you start caching the stuff locally. So those are the main pieces. And then right now I'm working on all the error handling between the Trino errors and all these native ODBC errors that are required to be reported back. Okay, cool. And those kind of error mappings. And
there is a ODBC Slack channel for those discussions, right? And the repository is Trino-ODBC-driver, right?
I think it's just Trino-ODBC.
Okay, cool. Cool. Well, so that's for anyone who wants to peek into that and potentially be interested. We're also talking to, I think, at least Stackable was potentially interested in the past to help out. So we'll see who else might want to help there. Cool. What else does anyone want to talk about?
Hi, Manfred. Michelle here.
Hey.
So for the gateway, we want to have some kind of endpoint so that we can get the cluster stats and query stats potentially for each user, right? I'd least like to start with the cluster related like stats, right? How much CPU is being used and memory is being used. So there's already like a MBean for the memory information cluster wide, but there's nothing like a CPU which can have aggregate view of the cluster.
And
do you think something similar?
Just quickly, like we had this discussion for everyone else a little bit already in Trino Gateway. So what we're talking about is having one endpoint on the coordinator that you can hit, and you get the information for all the workers. Because currently, what Trino Gateway has to do is go hit the cluster coordinator and go, hello, which are the workers, and then ask each worker individually. And that's first of all a pain, and second of all, so potentially networking-wise problematic if the coordinators are not reachable network-wise from the Trino Gateway, which can be set up or can be the case. So we would love to have some sort of way to generically just hit the coordinator and get the stats for the whole cluster. So we wanted to discuss that. Does that sort of like sum it up to some degree, Vishal? Anything else?
Yes, absolutely. I think you said it very well.
We'll do the same thing for like thread dump, so seems reasonable.
So,
So
if
we-
And it's already an endpoint where like you can go get thread dumps from workers through the coordinator. So
if you,
So
yeah, you go, Vishal.
yeah, so we have that MBIN called Cluster Memory Manager. Should we add like similar to that, like for a cluster CPU manager or something of that sort, and which would list all the CPUs for all the workers, or maybe the cluster-wide one, or we can discuss that on PR, whichever works for you guys.
I mean, in the code that pulls stuff from workers, it's an HTTP endpoint that when it's hit, it turns around and it goes and pulls the thread dumps. So you can do the same thing. It's protected by a management info check. So that basically means like it's marked as a admin kind of interface, not for normal users. So you could do basically the same thing, and then you give the UI, the gateway management rights, and it can pull all that information. So not too difficult.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing from you is like, let's not have an MBIN, which would similar to cluster memory manager, but let's have an endpoint.
You can have an MBean, but the gateway shouldn't be talking to the MBean server. It's not a MB. Like honestly, like we've been having discussions going, should we get rid of MBeans entirely and just use open, well, not telemetry, the stats version of open telemetry, whatever it's called.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. So for the gateway should just be talking to endpoints on the coordinator that are HTTP.
Okay. And the endpoint will be okay. So we'll follow the same model for the thread dumps, basically.
I think that you can actually make this configurable. So like have a like whitelist of metrics that you want to expose, like from every worker, and the coordinator will just aggregate this.
Yeah. Okay. So some protected endpoint is the solution, but I think we'll raise a PR and we can discuss it over there.
Yeah, because like the list of metrics is pretty long in Trino, so you can get like a lot of different like information. And I guess that like from the gateway perspective, you can create routing rules based on a totally like different like things like CPU usage or like queue depths or whatever, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's why we don't want to like have to like go to each cluster and then ask each worker on each cluster, and like that's just like silly.
Yeah. So having this like.
I was gonna say I don't know how configurable you need it to be, because like the gateway is gonna either have code to process it or not. This isn't. My assumption is this isn't like I'm just gonna like dump out all the information from every one of the workers. So it's like a kind of a different feature than like what the memory thing was.
But
like what's the goal?
Yeah. So the goal is to load balance the queries based on CPU and memory, and potentially like use the same thing for rate limiting for users.
Yeah. So in that case, the gateway is either going to have code that can process those values, or they're
and then coordinator can select all the values for the cluster, right? Because coordinator has an idea. Okay. So
yeah, I mean, I'd make the HTTP endpoint really simple, like I don't know, a bag of key value pairs, so that if we decide to add more, it's like a 2-minute job.
Okay.
But
yeah, make it simple. Okay, we'll make a simple map or something. Yeah, and then keep adding more stuff to it. Yeah.
Awesome. So Vishal, you want to potentially work on that PR?
Yeah, mostly it will be me and Andy, but Andy has taken lead, so most likely he'll raise a PR. But I'll work with him.
Okay.
Yeah, I would also in that new endpoint, I just add the memory information and then like you don't have to hit 2 incidents.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's what I was gonna do anyway. So, but thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah. We'll just collect everything about the cluster into that new endpoint, like some cluster info endpoint or something of that sort, and then keep adding more and more stuff as people need it. Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you. Yeah, that sounds good.
And sorry, just before we move on. So Michelle, you anticipate this being like the coordinator gets a request and then it will, on demand go aggregate information from each of the workers. Is that right?
Yeah. So periodically it'll get the information, the stats from each worker about, starting with CPU and memory, and then publish it as aggregate also if you want to. Yeah.
Well, okay, wait, that's what I'm trying to ask. Like, are you envisioning, coordinator has an endpoint, it receives a request, and then on demand it goes and fetches information from each worker versus like coordinator is, continuously monitoring, has an up-to-date view of each of those things, and then the endpoint is just, fetching that from the memory?
I would say it's better to monitor periodically, and whenever someone hits it, you have the information cached so that otherwise you don't want to like wait on coordinator when coordinator is waiting on something else.
Mhm.
We should avoid that model, I think. Yeah, we should keep
I
that.
mean, you
Yeah.
could do that. Like there's already precedent for the coordinator going and fetching stuff directly from workers on demand.
Yeah,
So like
and I'm thinking,
I would build the simple version first where you just do it on demand. As long as it's like it's protected behind a management check, like, and the gateway's caching, it'll be okay. And then you can add the caching later.
yeah, I'm thinking the same. And also, if you build it that way, you can actually make it so the caller can tell you which keys it wants, right? You don't have to maintain some hard-coded list on the coordinator. It doesn't even have to be a config. Like the caller can say, here's the 15 metrics I want. The coordinator can be completely agnostic, right? And then if the gateway evolves over time to need different metrics from each worker, completely no change on the coordinator, right? I think that's a big benefit of doing it on demand, as opposed to, if you maintain it in memory, then coordinator has to know upfront exactly what it should be maintaining.
Okay, so there's a chance of bloating it, and then cache would just want to be a good idea then. Okay.
Yeah.
Also, we can follow the
sorry, Eric,
go
for
ahead.
the names should be like logical, not like physical MB names. Because like those change, they aren't super stable. They are, but they're not. So, and there is risk with like exposing MBeans itself to anything. It's a shockingly dangerous API. Now, that said, read-only is not that dangerous, but like you can ask for almost anything through the read-only APIs.
And then regarding filtering, I was wondering, like, should we follow the MBean model where you can just have like a path which would decide what subset of data you want?
I would just list. Because at the end of the day, the gateway is going to need like 4 attributes, like 10. Like this is not a huge set. Because like you're using it to route queries. There are not that many things you can route on.
Yeah, so I guess, Dane, you're saying more like this endpoint should only expose a list of like very well-defined attributes that we essentially make part of the public API, as opposed to exposing the MBeans, which are more kind of a little bit more implementation detail, subject to change over time.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
Like, and really this comes down to like the receiver of this. I mean, this is really for the gateway, and the receiver of this on the gateway is going to have a code that understands what the numbers mean. Like it knows that memory has a min and a max. It knows that CPUs reflect the number of CPUs on the machine. It's like it's going to be hand coded. This isn't like some generic algorithm for load balancing.
No, it's going to be AI coded, Dan.
That's still hand coded by some AI. It's going to be actual code, not just like,
By your body
you
clone,
know,
right?
yeah,
Just joking. Just joking.
yeah, yeah. We'll make a Claude code call for each and every query. Totally cheap.
You'll get hallucination routing for free.
And what are your thoughts on, like, let's say if you want to get this data for each user, or like, how many queries the user is running? I think currently we use the UI endpoint to get that information.
Well, I mean, at that point, you're basically building resource groups. And if you want to rebuild resource groups, then you should have a conversation about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I'm not saying that in like, I think resource groups are great. I think they're insanely complicated. Like, they were great for Facebook, but most people are not that complicated. But if we're going down the path of implementing queuing, like, requires information about every user, that's pretty different than what the gateway is doing today, where it's just like, which server's got room? Let me throw the query over there.
yeah, so there are two aspects. I think one is just what we discussed is the load balancing, and then the other one is like the resource group / rate limiting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
first
so-
part, I think we are good. We're gonna build that. Maybe we can discuss the other one later on. We don't have to. I mean, we don't have how to discuss.
Yeah.
Right now. Yeah.
I mean, it's a big topic, so I
Yeah,
would
I get it.
I would write a proposal about what you want to do.
Sounds good.
And my personal preference is, let's make it as simple as possible
Mhm.
and build from there. Complex, if you want to see what complex is, go look at resource groups. Like, because
Okay.
it really needs to be designed so it can be distributed across gateways. Right now, like, one of the biggest factors in preventing Trino from running multiple coordinators is the queuing system, because it cannot be replicated across machines reasonably at all.
Yeah. Bigger topic. Yeah, we'll take it later. Yeah. Right, I'm good. I need to drop. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thanks, Vishal.
I have a request, Vishal, for those workers. No, he dropped. Please put the those stats in the system runtime nodes too, right? Where you can actually query that as if it was a table, not just an API endpoint.
In the system catalog, basically.
Yeah, in the system catalog. It's very, very handy when you want to grab information. Incredibly useful.
Yeah. It's kind of related, so maybe do that as a parallel PR or with it. Just talk to Vishal. But yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I know. It's like 20 feet from me.
Exactly. Cool. All right, Lukash, Dane, Mateusz, Eric, anything else we want to talk about?
Maybe just a reminder, the JDK 25 will be released in like 2 weeks, and we will,
Oh yeah, oh my god, it's 2 weeks.
as soon as it's out, we will update to it. Initially,
Anything good in it?
Actually, they improved the Java flight recorder like significantly.
Nice.
The sampling is better, so you can have like much more accurate data from JFR. There are some preview APIs that are pretty interesting, like the stable values, and a lot of improvements under the hood. So,
You know what I think the biggest value will be? That the corporation can say, we're on an LTS! So let's go to that one. That's going to be the biggest value, honestly. Like any feature is
That is the big value for me, for sure.
it's a silly value, but that's what like a lot of corporations will have. Like we find this at Chaingun as well. Like people just want to stick with LTSs even if it's not reasonable, but 25 is an LTS, so that's
yeah, but 25, like in comparison to 21, isn't like there isn't like too much like going from 24 to 25. From 21 to 25, obviously, like there are a lot of changes, but
Yeah.
from 24 to 25, this is like a minor release, like from my perspective.
yeah, that's good.
And it was working from the day one, so actually I did like a small changes here and there, but nothing significant. Like the major change was like in 24 was the removal of the security manager. So
Okay, cool. And then the plan is essentially still the same, right? We're gonna upgrade. Once the Temurin binaries are available, we're gonna run a release or two where the Docker container has it,
yeah,
and then later we'll switch the requirement over as well. Right, that's
Yeah.
pretty much the plan. Cool. That should be exciting.
yeah. Java 26 will finally remove the applet API. So
The what API?
applet,
Oh my
it's
god.
like in browser applications.
What's hilarious is I thought they did that like 10 years
I
ago.
was gonna
No.
say that's still there. That's brutal.
Yeah.
Applet, I was doing that, what, 20 some years ago, 25, 26?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, now JavaScript does the same things in terms of
Yeah.
evidence and stuff, so whatever.
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right. Any other exciting news anyone wants to talk about? Lukash, Dane, Mateusz?
Not really.
All right.
I'm probably gonna pull the catalog handle object out of the SPI. It's not needed, and it's just kind of an attractive nuisance. It can be replaced everywhere. The like two places we're using it should be catalog name and version. It just makes everything easier if we do it this way.
Yeah.
But it's fine. No one will notice. Yeah. Nothing else major for me.
Cool. I just had a thought. Eric, do you know like how this even works with the ODBC driver in terms of cutting releases and distributing the binary eventually? Like, I mean, obviously you're gonna just build it yourself, but where is an ODBC driver typically distributed if it's not just like a generic like download page or whatever?
Eric's gonna write a Windows installer.
We already got one. But
We did.
That's what it is, yeah.
The problem is you have to publish the PDB files too, which means if the driver crashes, you have to be able to figure out where. And without those binary, those things published, and you have issues. So yeah, it'll be build first, but then we need to put it in the CI/CD pipeline. We have those internal for Windows stuff, but I don't know how to do it in GitHub.
Yeah, maybe we just end up having it similar, like the binaries basically as downloadable, like on the release tag or something like that eventually.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. No, like just came to mind because me and Dane and David and Martin still have to figure out the .NET driver with the NuGet package publishing and get that access going so we can publish that driver. All right, cool. Anything else?
I was gonna say my thought is the moment you have like an alpha, like the thing can run a query and download rows, which I think you might already have.
Yeah.
We should just start publishing and just tell people like, yeah, it works, but you probably shouldn't use it.
Yeah.
I'm already there. It didn't have any error handling at all. It didn't print out a single error of the stack. So I'm trying to at least get the mappings between the Trino errors and the ODBC, and then do a first alpha.
Yeah,
because otherwise people are just going to get, miserable.
Yeah. I know that all the release stuff and getting people used to it can take ages. So like the earlier that we start on that, the earlier it'll be for like, we won't delay it once we actually have stuff we want people to use.
Yeah. And then after it's working, I need to evangelize it to get it in every one of these BI tools so people don't need to download it independently and install it. It's like, hey, Eric, can you pull me some favors in Microsoft and get this put in a Power BI for us? And then, because once they do that, they can put it in the cloud too, the Power BI cloud, and that really makes things easy.
We heard from them that internally, we heard a rumor that they were not really going to accept any more ODBC drivers, even from their internal people, because they want to force everyone onto the Power BI C# thing, so then they can run it in protect mode. Which I don't know what happened to the Power BI thing? Did that end up
We still have to
getting
publish.
done?
We still have to publish the ADO.NET driver. That's what I was talking before, Dane. We just have
Ah.
to get the access going
Yeah.
and get that going. But yeah.
So I think for Power BI, that's going to have to be the path. But for everything else that wants ODBC, we should be doing this.
Yeah. Eric, do you know like how are you building this? Like you're just building it locally, right? Like you haven't looked into, because I'm just wondering, like, can you even build a Windows application on GitHub Actions without having custom runners?
I don't know. I haven't tried it. I just build it right now, Visual Studio, but I just use the command line.
Okay. Well,
You know the Windows terminal?
yeah.
I just installed the Visual Studio terminal into that, and you can just run CMake and it'll build the whole thing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll figure it out. We got it building on the ADO.NET driver also actually.
Yeah, I'm trying to give it forked under my corp right now, so I can it's easier to give PRs back upstream because I already have a lot of changes for it.
Awesome. Cool. All right.
Cool.
Guess that's it.
Yep. Yeah, bye.
Talk to you in September.
Yeah.